down at WVS Care for Dogs in Chiang Mai, Thailand, which is the dog shelter that my dog, Ping Pong, came from almost 2 years ago. And I'm sitting down with Malek and Clarke. They both work here, have been here for around a year, and I just got the tour of, they have multiple facilities down here. We're at the office right now next to the main and original shelter, and we also went over to the New Hope facility, which is a training facility, and they have new pens down there. Since I adopted my dog, a whole lot has changed. Much more space for each dog is immediately obvious. When I was here getting my dog, did you say there were, how many dogs in this main pen here?
At the time you were here, there's probably close to 80.
80, yeah, and now it's 30 or so?
Under 30.
Under 30,
yeah.
And then the New Hope facility has about, how many more, roughly 30?
Up to 30 at a time in the main pen, yeah.
So around the same amount of dogs, much more spread out. I also got a tour of the operating room, the kennels where the dogs with serious injuries and things come in, the vaccination training type of area, the pre-operation area. It's quite the setup here. Like I said, a lot has changed since I last saw it. And thank you guys both for joining me today. So for people that don't know who you guys are, I just want to give a quick little background for both of you. And I just found out today that when Jamie first got involved here, it was actually due to a Facebook post that I shared. I think it was a post that Care for Dogs put up about needing dog walkers. I shared it. Jamie saw that and wound up volunteering here.
Yep.
So how did that all go?
Yeah, my husband and I had just been back from Chiang Mai and were looking for something to do, and we came across your post. And immediately came the next day. They said they were desperate for dog walkers. It was the summer, and I think they didn't have any dog walkers. So we came the next day and have been walking dogs for about a year until I got offered the opportunity to work here.
Yeah.
But I would have never found it if I didn't come across your post.
And so it was summer. That would be the same as summer back in the U.S. and Europe?
Yeah.
And is that because that's kind of low season here, right?
Here, yep.
So a lot of retirees and people that might volunteer are back home?
Exactly.
Is that why they needed so many?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
That was probably a little bit after I walked that dog, Air Force, that we both know.
I think so.
And if you like creative dog names, come to Care for Dogs. Because what are some of your best names right now? You have some good ones? Gypsy, I met Gypsy.
Yeah, there's Airbus.
Yeah.
What's the story with Airbus, Air Force, and Boeing?
Boeing. I think people just get on themes and just.
Yeah.
But we have we have dogs. We have an Isabella, but it's a male dog. So sometimes they just don't really care if it's male or female. Just whatever dog the staff, to pick up the name, they go with it.
And I guess if a Thai person was using maybe a Western name, they may not even really know.
Right.
Some Thai people, my dog's name is Ping Pong, and it's a boy. And some Thai people have laughed and told me that's a girl's name. And to me, Ping Pong just isn't even a name.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, whatever you say,
That's pretty cool.
And so that's really cool. I just learned that today that you came here partly because of that post. So I don't want to take credit for it, but that's awesome.
I'm sitting here because of you.
So go to the Care for Dogs Facebook page and share a post, right?
Yes.
I mean, I didn't even know how effective that was. I mean, especially if you're here locally in Chiang Mai, we'll get to the part about what you can do to help out Care for Dogs, but that is one way for sure, is walking dogs. They need socialization, they want to get out and see things and smell things, so we'll go through all the other ways you can help too. So now, Ian, you're from the UK.
Yep.
And you have 2 degrees, is that right?
They're diplomas, and they're in animal welfare and psychology.
Right.
Or behaviour psychology and welfare, to be specific. I was working in one of the leading animal charities back home. They've got 3 or 4 different centres around the country, and working specifically on canine welfare, rehoming, training, behaviour modification, alongside everything else that goes with helping out in a shelter. After 5 years there and completing diplomas, I came over here to volunteer, initially for 3 months, then extended to 6 months of volunteering, and when the UK management came over to deal with a few things once WVS took over, I handed over my resume and offered my services wherever they could best be used. Took a position in behaviour and training, and now I'm helping to oversee all of the rehoming and welfare for both sides of what we do here. So the dogs that come in through rescues, and of course the dogs that are here waiting to be rehomed.
Okay. And you mentioned WVS, which when I adopted my dog, WVS wasn't yet involved here. But that's an international group, is that right?
Yeah, so to say they weren't involved isn't strictly true.
Oh, okay.
They've been helping out here for 7+ years by sending over veterinary aid in parcels, vaccinations, and also vet volunteers and nurse volunteers. So when it was just Care for Dogs, they ran a fairly decent shelter, but they were lacking in medical supplies and people with medical experience to come over and help out. So they've only really been heavily involved for the last year to a year and a half, when they did join forces and it went from Care for Dogs to WVS Care for Dogs.
Right. That's when I noticed. When I said they weren't involved, what I really meant was their name wasn't on the Facebook page yet.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then I saw the WVS, and I had to look up what it stood for before I came to talk to you guys, and I was trying to guess, like, we vaccinate strays, or we're very saintly. I was trying to think all these,
I didn't think about that.
It's World Veterinary Services?
Worldwide Veterinary Services.
Worldwide, okay, yeah. So, cool. And I like your logo, too, the dog, like the dog donut. Yeah. So yeah, especially if you're in the Chiang Mai area, or even if you're not, like their Facebook page, check out the website. You'll see a lot of before and after pictures, which are really encouraging. It's amazing how beat up and hungry and skinny and tick-ridden and everything a dog can look, and then in a matter of like a couple months, they look like any other dog. I mean, totally healthy and happy, and it's amazing. So yeah, go check those out. That'll make you feel good. So let's see. So now that we know a little bit about your background, I'm curious. You weren't involved with animal welfare before this, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Most of my experience is more in management and training. I have a lot of extensive experience in Fortune 500 companies. Spent a lot of years in Las Vegas, small businesses, medium businesses, had a few of my own. In various different industries. So it's really nice to come and put all the different experience to a good cause, and I help with the business side of running the shelter and the training center. But it's great to be able to be a part of it and help the dogs. Yeah.
So say a few years ago, or I don't know how long you were in Chiang Mai, but did you see yourself, like, were you looking for some kind of a nonprofit thing to do, or was this just kind of a fluke thing?
Yeah, you know what, it's kind of a fluke thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've just been kind of open to different opportunities, and it just kind of fell into my lap, and it worked out really well.
Cool.
But I didn't come here saying I'm going to go work for a nonprofit or dogs, and it just slowly progressed into that. And after volunteering for a year with the dogs, I just fell in love with them and saw that I could really help out a lot.
So how has it affected you, or how do you feel on a day-to-day basis compared to, I mean, some people love their job, whether it's in the corporate world or whatever, but how does it differ to being in the business world? I mean, this is still a business, but
it's different, Yeah. You say that like about work, and it doesn't feel like work. And I think that's when you know you've found the right thing for you. When you come in every day and it doesn't feel like you're going to a job. But it's the most rewarding work I've ever done. I can see an instant impact on what I'm doing. When we rescue a dog and we're able to rehabilitate it and then see it through its recovery, I mean, that's because of the work that we're doing. So, very, very rewarding work.
Right. That's cool. Part of what I'm hoping, I'm hoping that there are a couple people out there listening who are kind of like, maybe my job is all right. I'm not that into it anymore. I'm thinking I might make a change. So it'll be cool to kind of let people hear about a success story of somebody who made a change and does not regret it.
No, don't regret it. We moved here. I trade stocks. I'm a stock trader, so working at night, and so then that gave me the opportunity to walk the dogs, and that's when I decided to do it full time.
Cool. Yeah. And now, did you stop doing all that you were doing before, the stock trading, or do you still?
Well, it's still at nighttime, so yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. And now it sounds like you obviously studied animal psychology. Did you plan to get into the animal welfare side of things, or?
No. So my original background is progressing through the nighttime economy, specifically the bar industry. And before I got into animal welfare, it was co-ownership of a bar and a restaurant in the UK for 3.5 years, after about 7 or 8 years of working my way up to that. And then I decided to sell up Once the smoking ban came in the UK, we sold up.
Sorry, once what?
The smoking ban came into the UK.
Oh, okay.
So as soon as that happened, the nighttime economy shifted incredibly. Plus there was the crash, the 2007-2008.
Right.
So we sold up before it got too bad, and that gave me the chance to kick back for a couple of years and have a look at what I really wanted to do in my life. And then I went towards animal welfare and joined the charity in the UK. Never looked back.
And so then you studied? That's when you got your diploma?
Yeah, during employment, it gave me the opportunity to be around a lot of dogs and study at the same time.
Yeah.
And like Jamie, never looked back. The financial rewards are not even close to the business world, but the personal reward, as Jamie just described, it overshadows the financial side incredibly. So it's really, really rewarding to come in and make a real difference, and again see the difference that you're making.
Right. It reminds me. You guys know who Alan Watts is? Like a philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. English guy.
Yep.
But there's a talk that he gave. I'll try to dig it up and put it on this episode at odonlife.com. He used to counsel people. He was working in some way at some university, and he would talk to students about what they were planning to do and why, and basically by the end of it, he'd ask people what they're planning to do, and they usually tell him, and it was because they wanted to make money or whatever. Their dad had that same occupation or whatever it was, and then he would finally just keep asking questions and get to the point where they say, well, what I really like to do is ride horses. And he'd say, well, then you go do that. And one of my favorite quotes of his is, dance while the music is being played. And a lot of people, they go and they, own a bar, trade stocks. I used to be in real estate. They do all those things. Some people love that, and that's cool. But some people do stuff they don't love, and they're trying to, work hard and put money away for someday when they'll retire and go walk dogs or whatever their thing is, climb mountains, so they want to have more money than they need so that someday they can go do what they want to do. Versus you can usually, it'd be hard to find a situation where you couldn't find a way to make enough money, maybe not tons or more than you need, but enough to live doing what you love, right? Try to go to that New Hope Center, and if you like dogs, try to go there without having a good time, right? And I know there's tons of work, like you guys are building fences, and you've got to do all kinds of little stuff that, we don't see, of course, but still, you're it's a great purpose, and you're around all these goofy dogs, the one that wants to go home with you.
Hagen, yes.
Hagen?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's cool.
It's funny, I've seen that Alan Watts talk that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The last few years before I moved to Chiang Mai, it was a big transformation, and that's kind of why we moved out of the U.S. to Chiang Mai. Thailand is kind of change of life and kind of, change of life. Yeah.
It's a really different perspective here. It's kind of a mind bender a little bit, especially, it sounds like I would guess that you are conditioned the same way that I have been, which is if you work less than 40 hours in a week, there's something wrong with you, and you should go sit in the corner. It's like you're cheating the world somehow. But, if you can figure out how to either work at something you love or work less at what makes you money and do more of what you love on the side or whatever, how is that bad, But I talk about this with friends that they run their own online businesses, and they really only work a few hours a day, and they feel like a cheat or something, or like a fraud, and they don't want to publicly say, I work 2 hours a day, no, I work 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and it's like a badge of honor or something. It's like, well, wow, okay. But anyway, it's just a total shift. And I've talked about this in every episode too. If you're in a position where you want to do more of what you love, and you maybe have some savings or some monthly income coming in some way, places, they call it geo-arbitrage. That's the buzzword for it. Places like Chiang Mai, you can live on a quarter of your expenses back in a place like in the U.S. where I live. You can easily live here for under $1,000 a month. People can do it for $500 or $600 even. So you take, your savings that might last you 6 months in the U.S. and that might last you 3 years here. And it gives you a lot of time to figure it out, right? Figure out how you can either make a living from what you love or just take a nice career break. I had a friend that used to make tennis courts and basketball courts. He worked for a construction company, and in Washington State it's rainy and cold for half the year, so they could only do that for maybe 5 or 6 months of the year. And he'd live cheap and put a lot away in savings, and then come to Thailand for 6 months of the year and just enjoy himself, and not do anything, just go to the beach, eat nice meals, drink his iced coffee, 6 months a year, and what a cool thing to do, the way to live.
Yeah.
So let's see, what else do I have down here? So your current roles here, for the Chiang Mai people that are interested in the, what's going on here. You said that, Ian, when you came here, you kind of had a new role, right, that didn't really exist before?
Yeah, and it was to do with, again, with behaviour and the welfare side of things. So overcrowding and a few other welfare issues that were glaringly obvious when I came here really needed to be tackled and sorted out. And one of the main things there is the New Hope facility, which now allows us to train the dogs. And not only does it give the dogs that are at New Hope the chance to have a much larger area, so 2.5 times the size, in a much more natural setting, with more supervision and interaction with the caretaking team, but it also means the dogs that are here at the shelter have been able to come out and develop their characters and not live such a fear-based life of overcrowded and overpopulated yard. So it's win-win all round, really. Welfare and behaviour was.
And that would make them more attractive to adopt. If they're
much
happy.
easier to adopt, much more settled, and easier to make the transition to go home. It also means that the dogs that are on site here now, they're all taken care of and walked daily. They're all socialised with daily, and the dogs that are at New Hope, they continue the socialisation. They've got a huge area where they can effectively play, exercise and display natural behaviours that they couldn't do here before.
So they don't really need the volunteer walkers at that facility, is that right? Because they've got the big yard? Or?
They don't need it so much.
Okay.
They have an area where they can get up to full speed and sprint. And when you go down there on a quiet day from the outside looking in, it's really quite beautiful to see the dogs displaying the natural behaviour, playing, tumbling around, chasing each other in packs, to the point where they are out of breath, and then they've got their own space and their own areas where it's large enough they can go and actually relax instead of worrying that another dog's going to tread over them, or where can I settle without feeling that something's going to happen. So it's really quite beautiful.
When I brought Ping Pong home, the first day, I have a big balcony where he can go out there and it's the 6th floor, so he can go watch the local cats walking around, and if dogs are barking, he can see what they're barking at and stuff. But when he first came to my place, I built him a 1 meter by 1 meter square piece of grass that was supposed to be the outhouse, the bathroom. But he thought it was where he sleeps, it was like the nice piece of grass. But he curled up and slept there, and he just went to sleep for like 2 days. I mean, he would wake up and drink some water and walk around a little bit and then crash again. You could just tell that he, like you said, he didn't have that space where he could just go to some corner and lay down and just be mellow. It was so many dogs here.
Yeah, and when they're caught up in that situation, so dogs need 16 to 18 hours of sleep per day, ideally, if they're settled.
Wow.
And when they don't get that sort of relaxation time, they're far more prone to frustration triggers. So
just
things,
like people, right?
Yeah, of course, just like people. So things they'd normally let slide, they'll react to, and they'll nip out and bite out to, whereas now that they've got the chance and the space and all of the welfare needs are met, there's far less of the squabbling, there's far less of the fighting. The atmosphere in the yard is far more chilled, which makes it much better to follow.
It really is. It's obvious.
And potential adopters, they can come in and they can see the true character of the dog now, instead of a dog huddled in a corner, kind of scared to venture out from its one known safe spot.
Right.
Makes them far more appealing to the adopter, and crucially, their welfare standards are way high.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the dogs at this part of the facility, they get walked every day. Is that staff and volunteers doing that?
It's mostly volunteers.
Okay.
The staff will get involved with medical cases, and the vet nurses are very good at getting the medical cases out. They don't always need the full walk if they're in recovery. They just need a light jog around or whatever. They don't need the full half an hour.
I would think it's as much like stimulation as it is exercise, right? Like, just get me out of this pen for a little while.
Yeah, and we call it the doggy newspaper. They'll go up to the poles in the road and the bushes, and they'll sniff, and they'll be able to see or smell which dogs have passed, and from that they can gather the health of the dog, the mood state of the dog that peed there. It's really, really mentally stimulating as well as physically healthy for them. Right.
Yeah, that's great.
That's cool.
And I guess that leads into the volunteers that walk dogs here, which is what Jamie did when she first got here. Yeah. So you still have demand for that? Or, like, what are the main ways that people can help you guys? What do you need and want right now?
We can always use more dog walkers. Because we have a lot of people that travel through. Maybe they're only here for 3 or 6 months, which is great. And so we have a lot of long-term volunteers. And so we have some people that live here and they only come maybe 1 day a week, which is great because then we can count on them and know once you walk dogs here for a period of time, you have your favorite dog.
Yeah.
And so you'll know, okay, this person's coming on every Monday. We know these dogs will get out. So what we need are people that can commit to at least 1 day a week on a regular schedule, and then we can know which dogs will get out and walk.
And if I know some people, like people I meet that are new to town, some of them don't even ride a motorbike.
Yeah.
So where we are right now is down towards Hangdong, which is, 20 minutes south of, like, the old city and stuff?
Yep.
So what's the easiest way to get here if somebody doesn't ride a motorbike? Would they, like, a few people get together and get in a songtao, or?
Yeah, so we have a private Facebook group for all of our volunteers, and we also have traveling volunteers that come here as well, so people that will come for 3 days a week. We just started this Facebook group maybe, 2 months ago, and the purpose of it is so people can carpool and set up rides together and things like that. We had a volunteer that was scheduled to come in today that was looking for a ride, and one of our long-term volunteers posted that he would go help her, find her way here. So it's a really good community with our long-term volunteers helping out the traveling.
And how do people find that group? Just
so if you're interested in volunteering, you can go to our website and then click on the volunteer page and register as a volunteer. Okay. We'll get you information and send you the link to the private group.
And I think that's carefordogs.org?
That's correct.
Okay, so go to carefordogs.org. And there's a bunch of, you can read all about what the foundation does, and it was interesting. Actually, something I want to bring up with you too while we're talking about your website. I was reading it earlier today, and something that I thought was really cool and I've heard before is that the king of Thailand is a big, like around here they call them Thai dogs or soy dogs. He is a big supporter of helping those dogs out, right? And has adopted some himself, I think.
Yep.
His main dog is a female that he rescued, or was a street dog, and he took her in, and that's his loyal companion.
That's a great example. I like that a lot. Yeah. That's really cool. So if you're Thai and listening and you want to follow in the footsteps of your king, come down here to Care for Dogs, right?
Yeah. Aim will do a great job of matching you with the perfect dog.
We've currently got a couple of Thai volunteers that come in, and they are fantastic, really, really good. So we've got an orientation that we do for Westerners and travelling volunteers, and exactly the same format is used for the Thai, and we've got 2 members of staff that will talk through all of that with any Thai volunteers.
Nice, that's good. So whichever language you speak, it's covered. And do the dogs speak Thai or English or both?
They speak happy. So if you speak with a nice voice and a high pitch and give them some love, then they'll speak back to you and reciprocate that love. Yeah, they speak happy.
It's funny when I see my Thai neighbors talking to my dog in Thai, and like they'll tell him to sit, and he just looks at them, and then they say sit in English, and he does it. He speaks English. He cow-jives the English. It's funny. Actually, total side note, I was in China one time, and I was in this restaurant, and I used to go there every day. I was just there for a week, but my favorite restaurant, and they had this cat that would walk around, their cat, and the guy would talk to it in Chinese. And I found myself it flashed through my mind, like, that's so ridiculous, that cat doesn't understand Chinese. And I'm like, well, that's just like me speaking English with ping pong, Of course. But we all think they know what we're talking about. Yeah. A lot of it, you would know better than me with your psychology background, tones and body language.
Yeah, but with the training that we give the dogs here, especially at New Hope, there's 2 things with every command. There's the voice command, so a sound that goes with the action required, but there's also the body language command. So it's very hard to do on a podcast, but for a sit command, you'd raise your hand at the same time and give the command to sit. So the dog not only gets the audio, they get the visual as well. The two of them matching up then makes it very easy that if they then are rehomed by Thais, they've at least got the body language, so they make that connection as well.
Right.
And carry through.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask you guys is, this is something I think about a lot actually. When I talk to friends of mine who are thinking about getting a dog, I of course bring up shelters, whether it was back home where I'm from, we had the Alternative Humane Society. At the flea market I used to run, we did the adoption day there a couple times, and that went really well. But I think a lot of people just haven't really thought about the difference between going to a pet store and buying a dog, you know, like I want this breed and this old and all that stuff, versus going to the shelter, meeting 30 dogs and seeing if you fall in love with one of them, you know. So what do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah, I think that's really true, and I hate to admit it, but I fell in that category maybe 7 years ago, and I went out and bought a purebred Chihuahua, and I think it's a lack of education for me at the time. I really wasn't aware of or given it any thought that there's these dogs in the shelter. And back home in the States, I mean, there's 2.7 million that are euthanized every year, you know, and I think it's, for me, it was lack of education, not being aware of going to your shelter, because there's so many dogs that are lovely, that are smart and well behaved, and would make great companions, rather than supporting the breeders.
Right. And see, that's the thing, like, I don't have any beef with that cute little Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Like, that's a nice little dog.
Yeah.
But if if they're sold out of Chihuahuas, they're going to go make more Chihuahuas.
Exactly.
You know, and you're just increasing the demand for the breeders to make more dogs.
Exactly.
Versus going to the shelter, finding a home for a dog that doesn't have a place to live right now. And the other thing is, if you're set on a purebred Chihuahua or whatever breed it is that you're looking for, if you wait and contact a few different shelters, you can probably find one. When we did that adoption day at the flea market, there was, I think he was about 7 or 8 months old, a purebred Great Dane puppy that I couldn't believe it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think those are pretty expensive dogs. And his temperament was good. It's not like he was a troubled dog. So don't assume that you can't get whatever breed it is that you like.
Right.
Like, there's 2 German Shepherds that we saw today.
Yeah.
They're beautiful dogs.
There's those, and just to reiterate your example, we rehomed last month 4 purebred Shih Tzus.
Really?
Yeah.
Just different homes?
3 went to one home.
Cool. Were they siblings?
Yes, they were.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, if you went to buy them at a local market, you're going to be paying fairly top dollar for them.
Right.
Whereas here, there's a donation to cover the cost of vaccinations, but again, that's not always necessary if people can provide the right home. But you can save a killing.
Yeah.
You can save an absolute packet on getting a dog from a shelter. And of course, you're giving the dog a second chance for a good life.
Yep. And there's a site I looked at years ago back in the U.S., and I can't remember what it was, but it was some kind of a network so that all the dogs that were available for adoption at various shelters were on this one site. Is this ringing a bell at all? I can't remember the name of it. But what I'm getting at is, if you really want a Shih Tzu, you can get on there and search like within 500 miles of your hometown, and you'll probably find one right away if you're willing to go drive to wherever.
Right.
And you could search like close to home or the whole state or whatever. It was really wild. Really good idea.
Yeah, there's lots of different like rescues back in the States. My sister rescued the greyhounds.
Yeah, right.
The race dogs.
Yeah.
So there's always each little pit bulls. They have their own little rescue group.
I saw some little whippet or greyhound guy walking around out here, like a local street dog, it looked like.
Oh.
There's a Saluki cross in the local navy. Yeah.
Is that a racing dog?
They're very, very similar. Very, very similar. Slightly fluffier ears, but the same build of body.
Good luck catching that one.
Yeah.
The flea treatment or whatever.
They'll run for it. They will run for it.
Get your fastest dog catcher on that one.
Right.
Yeah. The breeding thing, I think you're right that it's just people don't really think about it, and they don't teach that in school.
Yeah.
And I see some people, actually, I started the Chiang Mai Animal Lovers Facebook group, and there was somebody in there, I don't remember exactly the context, but somebody was maybe looking for a certain type of dog or whatever, and somebody flipped out on them about this topic and was very, on the attack about how you're horrible for wanting this certain breed of dog and blah, blah, blah. And if you approach it that way, people just dig in their heels, they get defensive, you know, and they want to fight back and tell you why they're right, versus something like this where we're just explaining to you like why you might want to consider going to a shelter, and did you know that you could get 3 Shih Tzus at Care for Dogs instead of the market. So yeah, I think that's a good approach with any topic really. Like understanding where people are coming from and like offering them information, but not in a condescending or attacking way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was interesting when I saw that in the group.
Yeah, I see that a lot. People just go on the attack of somebody wanting like a breeder dog.
Yeah.
It's not effective.
Right. Yeah. And I agree. Checking things off my list here.
Yeah.
On that note, actually, I was going to talk about, this is sort of more like the personal development side of what this podcast is all about. Everybody has critics, right? Anybody who's doing something anyway will have critics. And it seems like the more you do, the more critics will pop up. The more visible you are, the more critics will pop up. The more you change the way things are done, which is what we talked about. Obviously, you've made a lot of changes here. And sometimes, ego gets involved or people like one way of doing things. But you guys have had some criticism, just like anybody doing anything. So what do you think about that, about like taking action, doing something, doing your best? And I'm not trying to start some kind of, fight here or anything, but how do you deal? I guess that's what I want to know. Like the thing you can take away from it is like how do you look at that? How do you deal with it?
Well, how to deal with criticism? Well, I think what we're doing is just highlighting all of the things that we're doing and the reasons why we're making the changes and the positive things that are coming out of those changes. And I think that our work will speak for itself. I know there's been a lot of criticism about people thinking about what the New Hope facility was going to be. And I'm sure if you haven't seen recently, you can see we made a New Hope training video. You can see how the dogs are being trained to be fed. And if you spend any time at our shelter during feeding time and you see this video, you can see what a great impact it's having on the dogs. So I think the best way to deal with the criticism is just to continue on doing the best job that we can. And when questions come up, answer them honestly and completely. But we're just going to continue doing a good job here.
Yep. Good. Is that kind of how you look at it?
Yeah. The best way to deal with criticism is normally to allow people to have a look at what you do, and like Jamie said, is to explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, and be very open with everything. Anybody that's here currently and volunteering that's been up to the new facility or is actively working or volunteering in the shelter now, any questions that they've ever got, we'll answer. We hold the volunteer meetings once a month where volunteers can field any questions they like, and they'll be openly answered.
And that's a good point, because we've had a lot of volunteers that have come back recently that have maybe heard negative things about the New Hope facility, and then once they're here and they see it for themselves, completely different perspective. So I think it's just having to see it for themselves and making a decision.
Do you have to bite your tongue like I do sometimes when you see comments and things? Do you want to like fight back and defend yourself? Yeah. Constantly. I think that's just a natural human, like it's your ego, right? Like if somebody's criticizing me, then I need to defend myself and tell them why I'm right. Them criticizing me makes me less, but
I think it comes down to the similarity in people choosing a breed of dog. It's the same thing. It depends how the criticism comes in. If it's constructive criticism and we can work with the people that have criticised or explain why we're doing something, it's fine to work with people like that. It depends on how that criticism is put across.
It reminds me of that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
It's all about how you word it, right? If you come in and just start trying to bite somebody's head off and tell them they're an idiot, they're not going to listen to you. Slam the door in your face, or fight back. But if you deliver it the right way, somebody might even give you guys a great idea.
Right.
I know that just yesterday I posted, asking people for questions for you guys in this interview, and some of the questions weren't really questions, and I had to bite my tongue, even though they weren't criticizing me. I definitely deal with that, like that instinct to fight back. But I think something I remind myself of is every minute and every bit of energy that I spend fighting back with somebody that's pissed off at me. Trying to make peace is one thing, But if I'm just fighting back because of my ego and stuff, that's energy I could put towards just doing a good job, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, so.
That's where we're focusing our energy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
There's a saying, I can't remember where I first heard this. It might have been Zig Ziglar, who's a character. You guys know who that is?
Yeah.
It might not have been him, but anyway, the saying goes, never wrestle a pig because you both get covered in shit and the pig loves it. Some people just want to fight.
Yeah.
And they're just going around trying to pick fights, and whoever will engage, that's who they fight with today.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Avoid that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did, speaking of the questions that I asked about, I guess you wrote them down. I remember some of them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
One that was interesting, and he's a friend of mine, a neighbor of mine too. He was wondering about the fostering, which I actually technically fostered Ping Pong, because when I took him, I told you guys, I don't know if I'll be here for years or what, but so I'll keep him as long as I'm here, but I've had him for 2 years and he's my dog. But if somebody, I know a lot of people that come here seasonally. Are there any situations where you need a dog to maybe go recover or be with somebody temporarily?
Yeah, so there are medical cases that would need temporary foster homes. Some dogs that need maybe physiotherapy or some type of recovery would be great for that. But our shelter dogs, mostly, we're looking for a longer term fostering because it's very stressful on the dogs to go from the shelter environment to go to a home. It takes them a few months to adjust, and then they come back to shelter, and it's very, very stressful.
Yeah.
So we ask for a long commitment for our shelter dogs because the ultimate goal is for them to go to a foster home to a permanent home and not come back to a shelter.
Right.
But there is opportunity for short-term fostering. So if somebody's interested in that, we'd love to get their information because we always have rescue cases that could use a break and recover outside of the shelter environment, and then they go back to where they came from.
And whatever kind of physio or whatever these dogs might need are things that you could explain to people? They wouldn't need to be a vet or anything?
No. We would help them out, and if there's any type of medications or things like that, we would provide it. But we're very selective on which dogs need to be fostered and which ones for what particular period of time.
I just thought of this question too, because this was Peter's question, my neighbor Peter. But do you also happen to know a bunch of places like apartment buildings that are dog friendly or?
Oh, so that's a tough thing here.
I know one.
Which one?
Flora House. Do you happen to know where that is? I live on Chiang Mai, which do you know that area? Flora House is pet friendly. I just learned that from watching a YouTube video that my mom found. She's gonna be visiting this year, and may end up over here for a good part of the year, at maybe next year or something. And she has a little dog. So Flora House, nice place, open to having dogs. I managed to get Ping Pong in my apartment, but I think when I said, can I bring a dog, it was the grandson was the one at the desk, and he's kind of running the show, but Grandma and Grandpa actually own the building. Grandma doesn't like dogs, but grandson likes dogs, and he said, yeah, well, we're not supposed to, but wink, wink, But I think they thought I was going to bring like a Shih Tzu or a little Chihuahua in or something, and then he's not that big, but I think I just barely got away with that one, basically.
Yeah.
So, but I think they might be more okay with the little dogs.
Most of our dogs are the bigger street dogs.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of challenging to find the right home in an apartment environment. Most of them will need a house with a yard.
Yeah, and there are tons of, again, a lot of the people I run into are here for maybe 6 months or something, but there are lots of rooms and houses available that have yards, and they're dog friendly.
Yep.
So.
Yep, if they can't foster, they can come walk dogs and get their dog fixed.
Yep, yeah, for sure. And then there are some other things you do too, right? Like you set people up to go to various temples and take care of dogs there. That's one thing, right?
No, so what we do...
Kidding.
Yeah, well, what we do on the WVS side, we have a training center, and so you might be referring to some of our outreach clinics.
Oh, okay.
So that's where we go and set up shop, and we do mass vaccination and sterilization drives. So we have volunteers that will come and help with that process. But we take care of dogs in the sense that if a dog is injured, they'll come to our shelter for treatment. But the only dogs we have in our care are the dogs here at the shelter.
Okay.
So maybe you're thinking of...
Yeah, I remember reading something quite a while ago on your website about training for helping dogs with mange and things like that.
Oh, education programs.
Okay.
Okay, so, and we're going to be expanding on that a bit too, into the local schools and with the community on building our education program.
Okay.
Can't speak too much on it yet, but we will have an official full education program here, because that's what WVS is a big part of, is education through the community and through the veterinary side. And so at our training center, currently WVS trains about 500 vets every year annually. And so that's really the best way to tackle animal population, animal birth control, is to train more vets to go out in the world and have a better understanding on how to control population and then how to actually do the sterilization.
Yeah.
So that's another piece of what we have here.
And so that involves dog catching and sterilization?
Right. So we have a full team of dog catchers, vet nurses, vets. We employ 26 Thai staff here. And so, yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. It's a good number.
I didn't know it was that big.
Yeah.
So you are busy on the business side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why it's so great we have Ian to handle all the welfare and behavior. But we have a full team, and they go out, and we have good cooperation with the local communities and temples, and we'll catch the dogs and bring them here for sterilization. They stay over the night. We make sure they heal, and then they go back to the street, because that's really the long-term solution. We will never have a shelter big enough for all of the dogs. We will never find enough homes for all the dogs. Overpopulation and trying to reduce unwanted dogs from being born in the first place is really the ultimate goal here. I have this little pyramid here. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it shows the number of dogs
that can come from like 2 dogs.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen
gosh.
it. I don't know where it went, but I'll send it to you. But it's pretty impressive, the compounding effect, you know. So this year we've done over 3,500 sterilizations, or since WVS came in partnership. So you just think about the compounding effect of how many dogs that stops from being born.
How old does a female need to be before she can have a litter, roughly?
Well, after the first season, so 6 to 8 months.
Wow. Okay.
And then she can start having litters of her own. One breeding couple that is not sterilised can produce tens of thousands. I won't put an exact figure on it because the paperwork's not in front of me.
I don't know where it is.
But it's 30,000 plus over 6 or 7 years from one unneutered couple. Once their puppies have puppies, their puppies have puppies, this pyramid effect happens. So to be sterilising 3,500 plus dogs in just over a year.
Just over a year.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow.
It crashes the population.
That's like 10 a day.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, because we go, like I was mentioning, so my vet team right now, they're in Pai doing an outreach clinic. So we set up at a local temple and have good cooperation with the local community, and we'll see how many dogs they do in a week, but that's what they're doing now. And then at the end of, or mid-November, we're going down to the islands, and we're going to do a cat neutering project there as well.
Oh, okay.
We did one earlier in the year. We did 795 cats in about 2 weeks. So.
Wow. I can't help but trying to break that down. 14 days, 700.
Yeah. Well, cats are a lot faster than dogs.
Yeah.
They're much smaller.
That makes me think of when I got my cat spayed back in the U.S., female. Well, her and her brother. But I took her to this thing, they called it the space station, and it was a bus with like the most amazing paint job of this astronaut cat like floating around in space, you know, the space station. It was pretty great. Yeah, and it would show up outside this one shelter like every Sunday or something, and it would do the rounds, kind of like your crew does, you know. It would be in one town on one day of the week and then to the next town, and it was very affordable, you know. It was pretty much at cost, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, cost, I think you said it's about 1,000 baht to sterilize one dog.
Yes.
Okay. So just to give people an idea, if you want to pitch in 1,000 baht, you're covering the sterilization of a dog. I think on your website you also have like sponsorships per dog.
Yeah, we have different dogs on there you can sponsor. And a lot of times, you know, people think that the money doesn't go a long way, but it does. You know, 1,000 baht sterilizing one dog. I mean, that's helping. I don't even know how many dogs are being born. I got to get that pyramid straight, but it makes a huge, huge impact. But you can sponsor dogs. You can do vaccinations. We have many different options. Amputations, medical treatment.
Right.
Yeah.
Food too, right? You need food.
Yeah. They eat a lot.
I've done a little bit of like, you know, crowdfunding campaigns like Kickstarter and stuff. They say they're more effective if you can give like an example. It's like those commercials on TV of help out one child that, you know, break it down, make it real for people, like tell a story versus, you know, like our monthly budget is this much and you can give 0.02% of it, you know, and like it doesn't get people excited like the story does of, you know, sponsors Sparky, who had to have his left front leg amputated, and it's cool. And your pyramid thing is reminding me of like a reverse Amway presentation. Like, all you need to do is get 2 people in your downline, and then they'll get 2 more, and then
that's true.
Just to give you another chance to totally plug, like, whatever you need for help. So it's dog walkers, of course, money. I saw you accept PayPal on your website.
Yeah, PayPal's great. If somebody wants to sign up for like a recurring monthly donation, that's a huge help.
Okay. Cool.
Every amount makes a big difference.
Yeah.
If you're locally, they can donate directly to our Thai bank account.
Okay.
So that helps eliminate some of the fees.
And that information is on the site?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. And then, of course, when they're here, last time I saw there was a box for cash. Is that still true?
Yeah, we have donation boxes all over the city, so people may be somewhere and see a box for Care for Dogs, and we do pick them up, so the money goes directly to the shelter.
Where are some of those, the popular ones, I guess?
Let's see here.
Central Airport Plaza, there's a big one on the first floor.
Yeah, we have one in a Citrus Pharmacy. We have one the Italian restaurant. I pronounce it wrong every time. Piccolo?
Yep, and the Small Animal Hospital. There's a few of the veterinary.
Oh, yeah, I know that place.
Van Macameo.
What's that?
Another veterinary hospital.
Okay. These are like much-deserved plugs for these people too, right? So go have dinner, go to Central Airport Plaza, donate some money while you're there.
Exactly.
They're helping you guys out, help them out.
Yep.
You mentioned cats earlier, sterilizing cats. Another neighbor of mine, Jason, was asking, what about care for cats? Do you have any plans there, or are other shelters covering that need, or what do you? I didn't even know that you sterilize cats.
Oh, yeah.
So you do some cat stuff.
Yeah, we sterilize cats. We don't have the facilities to have a shelter for cats. Maybe down in the future that's something we can add, but right now we don't have the space. We're trying to make enough space for the dogs that we have.
Right.
So it's definitely not out of the question, but not at this particular moment.
Sure.
There are other places that do have cat shelters.
And I've seen, where is it, Santiton Cat Rescue? Santicook. Okay, and where is that?
It's a little out of town.
Somewhere northeast or something?
Yeah.
And, better yet, how do you spell that so people can look it up? Like, if there's somebody in Chiang Mai who wants to help out with cats,
SANTISOOK?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
So if cats are your thing, look that up. Do you know if they need volunteers, or I'm sure they need money?
They have dogs as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Jason, that answers your question. We had some other questions, I believe. Overseas adoptions. That was a thing and now it's not. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay.
There's a couple of reasons we only adopt locally in Thailand. For starters, there is an issue of antibiotic resistance going on. Actually, it's globally, it's being talked about at the UN. It's a hot topic. But some of our dogs here are exposed to different types of illnesses and things that maybe they're not exposed to overseas, and we don't want to be shipping that problem overseas.
Yeah.
In addition, we are an international NGO, so we have a responsibility to all the animals worldwide, and every dog we ship from Thailand to outside of the country is probably euthanizing another dog in that country.
Right.
Because the numbers are so high.
Yeah.
But also, we take the stance of people have to have a relationship with the dog. Sometimes dogs are sent overseas without having a relationship, and the dogs in Thailand are very different than Western dogs, and so maybe it's not a good fit, and then that dog ends up in a shelter.
How are they different? That's interesting to hear.
Well, they're used to more freedom.
Oh, okay,
than street dogs, so they're not used to being so domesticated.
I grew up on an Indian reservation in Washington State, just outside Bellingham, and the dogs are pretty much the same as here. They're running around, going crazy. When I was a kid, we had like our favorite dogs that would follow us everywhere we went. They were like part of our little kid pack. Yeah. And they were used to that kind of freedom. And
it's different.
Yeah, interesting. That makes sense. So, and also, if somebody, they move over here, they adopt a dog, and they fall in love, and then for whatever reason they have to go back to their home country, they can do that, right?
We're just not going to send a dog strictly from the shelter across overseas. Yeah.
So when that went on before, then that would be with a particular person that was already living overseas that wanted that dog? Or do you just send a dog over there and then some shelter over there does that side of things?
I'm not too particular on the details on how it was done before. Just I just know how we're doing it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to me like it would make any sense if you were just sending it to a shelter on another continent and then hoping they get adopted there. That's weird. Yeah. But, okay.
So yeah, we're really focusing on increasing the local adoptions, which we've done a great job at this year. The last 6 months, we're averaging about 10 adoptions a month. So our adoption numbers are still very high. We're still adopting lots of dogs.
Yeah.
But we're doing a much better job of matching the dogs. And Amy can explain that a little bit better on how that change has happened since we've come on board.
Okay.
Yeah, so instead of coming in and saying, hey, that dog's cute, I want to take it home, people that are interested in adopting now will fill out a home finder form. So we'll get a few details of exactly how long they're at home, what kind of energy level in the dog they're after, and a series of other questions, and then we'll present to them some of the dogs that we feel would best match their home circumstances. And over the last 6 months it's proved extremely successful in making sure that the dogs that go home stay in the home, rather than saying, hey, I want Fluffy over there. They take Fluffy home. They didn't ask any questions about the behaviour or what Fluffy needs in his life.
Fluffy wakes up at 5 a.m. every day and howls or something like that.
Or chews or digs.
Right.
And it's trying to make sure that the environment and the people match exactly what the dog's looking for. So it works mutually for everybody, the dog and the people. And the proof's in the pudding, as we say. The dogs that have gone home have stayed home. If for any reason there's been a slight hiccup with the matchmaking process, then we also now offer, for the full life of the dog in the home, behaviour advice, including visits. So it's not happened so much recently, but when we first started there were a few dogs that we needed to go into the homes and correct issues by demonstrating to the owners how to correct the issue in a positive way and get the dog and the people over the problem. It's been really effective in making sure that dogs that leave here stay out of here and have a great relationship and a forever home.
One of my favorite ones was the Perot adoption that you did, and you went out to get some behavior advice afterwards, and they built like a little training center for the dog. I don't know what you would call that.
I'm sorry, what did you say, the what adoption?
The dog's name was Perot?
Perot.
Perot?
Right.
Yeah.
So he went, while he was in the shelter here, he was in the teen enclosure, and one of his daily pastimes was to scale the fence, climb onto the roof and watch things from up there, or jump out into the corridor where we run all of the dogs to get them out. Basically, he likes to climb. He likes to climb, and he's a boy that's full of adventure. He's also
like a chain link fence?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
what kind of dog? What is he?
Thai mix.
Yeah.
Medium size. Yeah. He's
part spider.
Yeah.
Okay.
He just really likes to climb, and he's a very active young lad. And when he went home, they weren't having issues. He was having an issue with not being able to fulfil that need. Some dogs like to dig, some like to chew, some like to run. Hero likes to climb. So we went there several times to win him round and bring that behaviour under control. And working with the really, really lovely family, with a young child that's working with Hero as well, they built an obstacle course. So a homemade obstacle course where the young daughter could be by Hero's side and get him to do all of this obedience training, whilst at the same time fulfilling that need of Hero to be able to climb and get that out of his system.
Nice.
Yeah. It's really great to be able to offer that kind of support and help people work through some of those issues with their dogs. So.
Yeah, that's cool for the little girl.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if she'll be like training rescue dogs, you know, like the ones that go through earthquake buildings.
Yeah. They're an awesome team together.
Yeah.
Watching them do it is awesome. Really, really good.
That's great. Cool. So you've really made those relationships stick. That's great. Yeah. And were there any other questions? I'm trying to think of what people asked.
Care for cats. We'll talk about fostering, adoptions. There's some issues about our Facebook posts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The adoption fairs, why we stopped doing the adoption fairs.
Right. Sort of what we were just talking about, right?
Exactly.
It didn't stick.
Exactly.
Impulse adoption, and people going out to do their shopping, and the pressure then comes normally from the kids that they're going shopping with. Oh my God, I really want that cute puppy over there. The parents bow out to it, and quite rightly so. Most people would think, oh, it's a puppy, how hard can it be?
Right.
Well, actually, it's going to chew through everything that you leave down if you don't give it the correct training and socialisation. And the problem is that cute, fluffy puppy goes home for 6 months while it's cute and fluffy.
Right.
And then it comes back because perhaps they weren't really looking for a dog when they were looking for their flat screen TV. So the dog comes back and it's no longer a cute, fluffy puppy. It's now an adolescent that's not quite had the right training and support and matchmaking for the home. And then they end up in care here, which, I mean, we can provide the care for them, but that opportunity, that golden opportunity of rehoming to the right family while the dog's at the crucial age, that's already passed. It's much, much harder to find a home for an adolescent dog than a puppy.
And you mentioned the socialization of dogs. There's a window for that to happen, which is a lot like humans. We were talking about that in the truck when Jamie was in the back of the truck, which made the staff laugh. You know, the big boss is in the back of the truck where the dogs usually ride. Made me feel VIP. But you said there's this window to socialize them. So it sounds like there's a young dog is more likely to get adopted because of the cute factor, and also that's the time they need to get the right training and socialization.
So until 8 weeks old, the puppy really needs to be with mum, where it learns bite inhibition, imprinting behaviours that the mum will pass down.
Bite inhibition?
Bite inhibition.
And
so
is that if I bite mom, she bites me harder?
If I bite mum or if I bite my siblings, I'll get told off by mum if it's too hard, and my siblings will squeal, which will bring mum into the equation again. So they get to learn how hard or how far they can push it and what the boundaries are between play and pushing it too far. If they're taken away before that 8-week period, that's when you'll have problems with puppies growing up not really knowing how hard and how much pressure to put on. After that 8 weeks, they're fine to go into a home, so long as the 10 weeks between 8 weeks old and 18 weeks old, that's the golden window where the dog needs to be introduced to everything it's going to see in life to make it an easier experience. That includes socialisation with people, traffic, washing machines, hoovers, anything that dog's going to come across in life. If it isn't exposed to it positively in that 8 to 18 week window, then you're going to have problems where you need to modify the behaviour later on, and that takes a lot of time and energy. Whereas putting that time and energy in during the 10-week window is much, much easier and much better for the dog, and it means the dog will be far more well-rounded and set up for a good life.
Okay. There's a question that popped into my mind, and I lost it earlier, so I want to ask it while I'm thinking of it. For people that do live locally here in Chiang Mai, I know there are so many dogs here that you focus on certain things, right? So when is it appropriate to contact you guys or to bring a dog here, and when is it maybe not appropriate because you don't have the space or time for every dog with fleas, for example?
So rescue cases. We have a very busy rescue clinic. We've rescued 230 dogs so far this year, and so we save that space for mostly like critical cases where dogs have been run over or have severe mange or anything like that. But if there's any concerns of a dog that maybe they see is injured, they can give us a call. Most people take a picture of the dog and send it to our Facebook page so we can kind of assess the situation of the dog. But right now, as far as taking dogs into the shelter as permanent residents, we're only going to do that for really serious cases. But any rescue cases, we'll take them in, treat the dogs, make sure they're back up and fully recovered before they go back home.
Okay. Got it. I actually called once because I saw a dog that got hit by a car, and he got so lucky too. He went right in between the wheels. It was on Canal Road, which people drive pretty fast there. And you know what? There's a beautiful median there, right? Hedges with nice flowers and everything. It looks nice, but it makes the corners blind. And this dog, I went by and noticed the dog out of the corner of my eye in between the hedges. There's a little place to walk across Canal Road, and this dog was in there, but looking like he wanted to cross the road. I'm like, oh man, that's a bad place to be crossing the road. And I just kind of watched over my shoulder, and sure enough, he stepped out right in front of a car that wasn't even, they were just going the normal speed for Canal Road, not their fault. But he got super lucky, went between the wheels, but did get probably broke like his forearm on one leg. He was limping. I think he was hurt a bit. But yeah, I called, and I don't remember who exactly picked up the phone here, but they were really helpful. and it was after hours, maybe like 8 p.m. or something. But they just said, you're pretty close to that small animal hospital that you mentioned, which I think is affiliated with Chiang Mai University.
I believe so.
Yeah. So they said, hey, they're 24 hours there, and also they're very reasonable, their pricing and everything. So if you see, like in the U.S., if you see something like that happen to a dog in the evening or on the weekend, we're talking like $500 to $1,000 for some X-rays and stuff. I've done it to my dog, happened to my dog.
Yeah.
Actually, my dad paid for it because he was taking my dog for a walk and he felt guilty, but that was my rescue dog back in America. Anyway, over here, one of the local street dogs, I call him Wolf, I don't know what his real name is, but he had probably a bite above his eye. He thinks he's a tough guy, so he gets in scraps all the time. And it got infected. He's super sweet to people, but he wants to be the alpha, so he gets in fights. And he looked like a boxer. He had a big lump above his eye, and it wasn't that bad yet, So I took him to that small animal hospital with a friend who had a car, and it was like 10 o'clock at night maybe, and they cleaned it all out. It wasn't ready to be drained yet, but they gave us antibiotics. So cleaning it, shaving it, doing all that stuff, and the drugs, the antibiotics for maybe 10 days, all of that was like 500 baht, which is about $15 or something. So the reason I'm saying this is, if somebody out there sees a dog that needs some care, and you can tell it isn't owned by someone, don't be afraid to just scoop him up, and he'll let you, and take him to that small animal hospital. And it's really, because that preventative treatment then is 500 baht. A few weeks later, it could be like this poor guy we saw.
Exactly.
When I was getting my tour, I saw Dumbo, right?
Yep.
And he had an eye infection and actually lost his eye.
Yeah.
And it's pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
And, if somebody would have got to him earlier, maybe that wouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
But he's still a happy boy, though.
Yeah, he was happy to see you.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's if you can catch it early, there's a lot of things that aren't that serious.
Yeah. So, but we do have a full team of catchers, so if there's a serious injury or anything like that, please let us know. We'll
Great.
try to coordinate the
Yeah, and if it's not in your kind of strike zone or whatever, you can refer.
Exactly.
Okay, that's great. And is there somebody that picks up the phone 24 hours, or is Facebook the best way to do that?
I would say after hours to send it to Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And I've gotten through most of what I have. Is there anything you guys wanted to cover? I want to give you a chance to let us know about anything that you want to.
I think we kind of covered.
Do you guys do any upcoming events or anything like that, or trainings, or?
I mean, we constantly have vet trainings here at the training center. We will have, in addition to regular vet training, we have specialty courses, and we're going to have specialists coming from overseas to do an anesthesia course. And so if there's any Thai vets that are listening, they are more than welcome to join for that course. They can send us an email, and I can send them more details on that. Okay. And that'll be at the end of October.
All right.
A three-day course.
Cool. And if people that don't live in Thailand, like foreign vets, are listening, can they come over here for training as well? Like if they could make a vacation out of it and also get some training while they're in Chiang Mai, or is that not how it works?
I would direct them more to the WVS.uk.org website, and that's going to be more directed towards the vet site.
Okay.
For international vets.
Cool.
And they'll find a lot more information there.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to add, Ian?
Always looking for volunteers, whether people are just passing through or whether they're staying in Chiang Mai for an extended period. Once you've completed the orientation, there's no minimum commitment time. You can come and go as you please, so long as you're contributing a positive experience to the dogs. The focus doesn't have to be on walking. Mm-hmm. If you're less able to walk than others, then there's always bathing, de-ticking, just simple socialisation and being with the animals, which encourages a much smoother adoption process once the dogs are socialised.
Right.
So I'd say get involved, have a look at the website, and if you've got any spare time and you love dogs, come and join us.
Okay. And on the other, were you about to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, and we have plenty of dogs that are available for adoption. So anybody who needs to adopt a dog or is interested,
And I mean, come down here too, and no pressure, right? Just meet them.
Yeah.
If you're sort of thinking about it, see if you fall in love with one and get to know them. And
maybe come a few times and see, if it's a good fit. Yeah, no pressure.
One might pick you.
Yeah, that does happen.
That happens,
That happens a lot.
Yep. I know. I actually just asked. At the time, there was a lady named Haley who worked here, and I was talking with her and somebody else. I can't remember who. and just said, like, what do you guys think? I'm looking for a dog, and I just let them tell me Ping Pong, and I said, why? And, well, he's almost out of the cute phase. He was like he was kind of a teenage dog. He was big and lanky and not as cute as he was a couple months earlier probably, but he had been hit by a car, so he had a limp, and they actually said they weren't sure if he would ever run, so it made him a little less likely to get adopted, I guess. So I said, all right, cool, I'll take him. And now he runs like the wind. He still walks with a limp, but he runs normally.
That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, just come down and check it out. And also, the other theme of the podcast kind of was I wanted to show people an example of a couple of people who went and did something that they loved, and so whatever it is that you people out there listening want to do, you know, if it has nothing to do with animal welfare, there's probably somebody out there that you can talk to who has done it, you know, and if you want to feel a little more comfortable, like if I was thinking about leaving my life back home and doing what you guys are doing, I think sitting down and talking to you would make me feel better and more comfortable about doing it, right, taking that leap. So think about that. If there's something you guys really want to do, find that, you know, mentor or role model who has done it, and, you know, go talk to them about it, learn. A lot of times when you get some information, things seem a lot less scary.
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't just move to Chiang Mai without ever visiting Chiang Mai, right? Like I visited here a few times, and then I came. Did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Was it Chiang Mai though?
No. We moved. My husband and I visited Bangkok. It was our first trip out of the U.S.
Oh wow.
And his brother lives in Bangkok, and we went there for 2 weeks, and we were already ready for a change, and went home and thought about it and said, you know what, let's do it. And we sold our house, all of our belongings, and we did. I mean, thankfully you have the internet, so we did a lot of research. Yeah. But we got everything down to 8 suitcases, and we booked a one-way ticket to Chiang Mai, sight unseen, never been here.
And why Chiang Mai? Did his brother tell you it was
No, I mean, Bangkok is definitely not for us,
yeah.
the big city scene, but Chiang Mai felt more like what we were looking for.
From your internet research?
From internet research,
cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much information available.
Yeah.
I would have never been able to do this 10 years ago without enough information on the internet.
It used to be the Lonely Planet book.
Yeah.
Like when I started traveling, that was what everybody had.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now, I mean, you can watch a YouTube video about the specific apartment building you want to live in and see a review, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I know that's not typically the norm, but we did it. We came here, sight unseen, sold everything just with what we had, and
cool.
Here 2+ years later.
And I guess your worst case, really, I mean, you turn around with your 8 suitcases and go back.
Go home.
Yeah. I think a lot of times people just kind of like, they don't really quantify what the worst case scenario is. Mm-hmm. Once you do that, it's not as scary. Like, it's not like you're not allowed to go back to where you're from.
Yeah.
You know, you might have to go find a different job than the one you left or something. Yeah. It's not that huge of a deal. So yeah.
It's a big world. There's a lot to see out
there. Yeah. And even if it does turn out to be a mistake and it's not a fit for you or whatever, but you know, would you rather go and find that out and then go back and try something else, or just always wonder what if, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like that Alan Watts quote, you know, dance while the music is being played, right?
Couldn't agree more.
A song does not last forever. Yeah. Cool. All right, you guys. Well, I really appreciate it. We'll on odonlife.com, where this episode is, I'll put up some of your YouTube videos, probably the training video where 20 or 30 dogs sit and wait while 20 or 30 bowls of food are put out in the middle of the field. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And I'll put the link up to the Facebook page, or you can just go to Facebook, and it's WVS Care for Dogs, I think is the name. Yep. Carefordogs.org is the website. And anyway, I'll put all those links up there, some videos and pictures. I took some pictures today. So thank you very much for your time.
Great. No, thank you. Yeah. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, and keep me posted in the future if you guys are doing anything you want promotion or whatever.
Yeah, I will.
All right, great. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, grab your pen and paper and write down 3 things you're grateful for. This is OD on Life. Come get high with us.